Welcome to the first devlog for Ramwar, the Minecraft FPS. This is the game where two teams use powerful weapons to fight over a sheep. I've already created this game once before using Minecraft command blocks, so this video series will take you on the journey of how I'm recreating it from scratch to work as a multiplayer plugin. I've been keeping a document of everything I've done up to this point, and these first couple videos will be catching you up to speed with where we're currently at. Phase 1, the MVP. My first goal is to create an MVP, a minimum viable product, which is the most basic version of a game that can technically be played. For me, this was going to be getting the main game mode and map mechanics working, along with 2 of the 8 weapons. So, without further ado, on to development. Day 1. I held a ramwar town hall where I caught everyone up to date with what the plan moving forward was. Day 2. I set up my software. I started with Eclipse originally, but later moved to IntelliJ and have not regretted it for a single moment. Day 3. I wrote my first plugin. All it does is say something in chat, but you gotta start somewhere. Several days later, I'm going to stop numbering the days now. After several tutorials, I said in my document, quote, "It seems like this is where I'll start being able to make my own things. But will he bother to actually code it tonight after work? We shall see." Follow up. He did not. I'll show the document like this whenever there's something of interest. Learning to code doesn't happen without plenty of dumb mistakes. For example, for some reason the second tutorial I did just never worked. Later I found out it was because I spelled message with 3 S's. During another one of the tutorials, there was a line of code I didn't understand what it did. So I wrote in, "I don't know what this line of code is for." I figured out what it does. I continued to learn by making my own test plugin called the Potato Picker. Clicking on each potato demonstrates something new that I learned, like the regular potato, which gives you a potato. The not a potato, don't click. I warned you, now you have none. The levitato. The potato. And the big potato. Now we get to the part where I actually start working on Ramwar. First, I charted out how all the mechanics are going to interact with the inventory. This column is for the primary weapons, then there are primary ammos here, and secondary abilities here. Then there's the things that are independent of your weapon, like the game's objective, the ram ball, power-ups from special game modes, and when you're in lobbies, the settings menu and the ready up button. OMFG, it may be 8 AM, but I have a basic player weapon and weapon class working. This means that whenever a player selects a weapon, I'll have somewhere to store all their ammo and run all the logic needed for firing it and whatnot. Then we get to a very long, boring part. That is me learning to store data. This is sadly very important, as whenever you turn off the server, it just straight up forgets everything it's ever done. With the power of 6 AM and watching several tutorials, I have already been able to save integers persistently. That literally just means I can put numbers into a text file now. I took a break from that and learned how to detect when the player right-clicks, and now iron hose say bang instead of doing anything else. Back to saving and serializing data. It's almost 9:30 AM. I'll finish the serialization, then sleep. I serialized bow, but I lied. I'ma test it. I have tested it. It hates me. This makes no sense. It is also 10:30 AM. Good night. I eventually figured it out and was able to save all the necessary data, so I won't bore you with those details. Let's get into the fun stuff now, since at this point we've already hit our first month of development and we've barely started making the actual game. Game development is slow, okay? The main mechanic of Ramwar is the tiles that each map is made out of. By firing any of the weapons, you'll claim these tiles in your team's color. Moontier joined me to help me make a tool that could change all the tiles in a given area, and surprisingly we got it to work first try. Except for the part where I accidentally told the code basically not to run, but we won't talk about that. Since Scythe has an ability called Bucket that claims a large area around it, I slapped this onto it, and now we have our first weapon claiming tiles. The reason you claim tiles in Ramwar is so that you can go into incog mode, which makes you completely invisible, incredibly fast, and reloads your ammo automatically. Oh my gosh, it was so easy, I have reloading on tiles working now! Then with a single line of code each, we've got speed and invisibility working. Since Ramwar is in vanilla Minecraft, we have very limited options when it comes to a control scheme. For incog, the control is to highlight the third slot of your inventory, and since you can't use weapons when you're in incog anyways, this has worked quite well for us. Now, let's rattle off a bunch of quick weapon mechanics. Scythe now claims tiles constantly while holding it, and Bow's arrows now claim tiles as well. Scythe Bucket now also gives you a boost to speed. Bow now accurately keeps track of how many arrows it has left. Arrows are killed when they hit the ground. Bow has an ability called Explosive Arrow, which now goes away after being fired, then reloads after 4 seconds. I learned how to play sounds, so now explosive arrows make their sounds. Then I was figuring out how particles work, so I could create the spherical explosion of explosive arrows. I had a sphere generator left over from the original version of the game, but when I tested it, it didn't seem to work. After close inspection, there was only a single particle that I could see. So I told it to constantly show me my sphere, and oh gosh, that is not a sphere. But we got that fixed and the explosion looks correct now. And now they also claim the ground on detonation, as well as damaging players and the ramp. Quick tip for programmers: if you get really stuck on an issue, go to sleep. I cannot tell you how many of my biggest issues became unbelievably obvious the next day. Moving on. So, since Java is an object-oriented language, that means you can just create any new type of object you'd like. Just like an integer holds a single number, you can make an object type called cat that has a name, a color, a number of whiskers, and you can set it up to do things like meow. I found myself creating a lot of repeated code regarding the game's explosions, so I straight up just made an object type of explosion. Each one has a blast radius, damage amount, and a fuse until it detonates. Now you can just hand a projectile a neatly packaged little explosion variable and bam! Realizing how powerful this is, there was another issue I could use this for. Whenever a weapon claims tiles, there's a box that it checks for and changes all the tiles within it. When most people explain the shape of a box, they say it's width, height, and depth. So for Scythe's passive claim, that's a box that's 3 by 3 by 4. But where is this box? The player's feet are kind of in the middle, but what if the box was taller, say 5 blocks? Now the center is definitely not on the player. So let's look at what info we do need. Well, if we're always going to be using a player or a projectile, we can assume they're the basis for our location. Since all claims are going to have the same horizontal radius around the player, we only need one variable for the whole box's width. Then for the height, since we're referencing the player, we can have a depth below the player and a separate height above. Thus, our new object type, a claim box, is born. It holds 3 values, a width, a depth, and a height. Just not the same ones. I implemented these new objects to the game, and according to the document, success! Nothing majorly prevalent broke. Then I disappeared for 2 months. I was putting on a massive Halloween event for my personal ramwar community, and playing Deltarune Chapter 2. You'll hear more about that Halloween event eventually. As our goal is to hit the minimum viable product, we need a way to start actual matches of ramwar. Since setting up a robust system with multiple lobbies for players to connect to is incredibly stressful, instead, for the first MVP, there will only be a single lobby and game of ramwar going on at any time. I designed a lobby system that should hopefully allow playing with friends and other players to feel a lot more like a community. It consists of a lobby where players can practice and interact with each other, then a match settings room where everyone picks a map along with their team and weapons. There's also a system where players can either ready up for a game or sit out. All of these are now implemented, but the only way they can be accessed is with chat commands. I'll go more in depth about this system in the next video as it gets fully fleshed out then. The main objective of the game is the ram that you have to attack to pick up. I can now test for when the ram is killed. It also drops the item we call the ram ball. We'll change how it looks later. The sheep now also doesn't move, glows, and has 70 health. Then I needed to get at least one game map working, so I made my own custom command. All you have to do is stand at red spawn and type /map_rs, then do it for blue spawn, sheep spawn, red cap, and blue cap. This, however, has to be done every single time you turn on the server. We'll worry about saving that data later, as that's not needed for the MVP. A little more work, and now the players and ram are spawned into the map where they belong. Crazy little story that happened at this point of development. While I was working at an escape room, I happened to meet Matt, Pat, and Stephanie from Game Theory. And being my anxious self, I managed to ramble about ramwar. I am so sorry. Back to development. Now the ramble can be picked up. I wrote custom code so it will be given to the nearest player, to eliminate the issue of lag, allowing certain players to have better item pickup priority. The main map mechanic for getting to higher places is jump boosts. They are most commonly denoted by claimable walls. However, you only need to claim the block you're standing on at the base of the wall to use them. And now they work. Winning the game is done by carrying the ram ball all the way to the gold marked spot at the enemy's base, with the tile beneath you claimed. We refer to this as capping, and I got it implemented. We just won't talk about how the game just immediately ends and sends you back to the lobby as soon as they step foot onto the cap spot. Blue team slightly exists now, with jump boosts, incog, and capping all using blue instead of red. Also, now when one team steps on the other team's color, they get slowed down and can't jump. However, this caused the most infamous bug from the original version of the game to return: spacing. Upon taking any damage, there is a random chance that you will get yeeted over 100 blocks into the air. It's caused by the level of jump boost that removes your ability to jump, but as to why, I have absolutely no clue. Blue team now exists! Scythe and bow both paint red and blue when necessary now. I also set player scoreboard teams so that they can see their invisible teammates and can't hurt them. And with that, the ramwar minimum viable product is completed! We did a big playtest with all our friends after this, and it went great. There were obviously things I couldn't test that didn't work, but anything I did test worked perfectly. For fun, I had also added the teams for yellow, orange, pink, green, purple, and light blue. Here's a screenshot of us all on the day of the playtest. The fact that almost completely by myself, in under 6 months, I already had a working version of ramwar recreated was incredibly exciting. Now with the MVP done, that means anything I work on from this point forward can be immediately implemented and tested. If you want to keep up with the development of ramwar, subscribe to be notified, as in the next 2 videos we'll be caught up with the state that ramwar is currently in. If you want to play the game right now, there's already a version up and running on mc.ramwar.net. You can also join the Discord for updates and to play with the community. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.